Boys, Ceiling MMA here, and today I have to talk about this fucking lightweight division, man. And the way people are talking about it, the way the fighters are doing shit. I know this little thumbnail thing I've got up is very low quality because the images, I can't do anything about that, and who cares at the end of the day. So yeah, starting with Scamrock, man. You know what? I'm not a fan of Scamrock because of the way he wins fights or has won fights. You know, his last one was clean, but you know, the Fiziev fight and other stuff he's had in the past, and just kind of, you know, he can be pretty boring. But I don't like right now. The guy accepted Arman on short notice. Apparently accepted Gaethje on short notice. They both declined him, but I do get it. Actually, no, I don't get it for Arman. It wasn't even Arman on short notice. It was BSD, right? Who he accepted, and BSD and Gaethje declined. I get it. It's a stylistic change up, right? But shit, what was I gonna say? Yeah. So this guy was offered to Arman. Arman said no. Once again, it kind of makes sense. Gamrot doesn't really deserve that sort of a jump up, especially after losing to Dan Hooker. But Arman still needs to earn his title shot back, man. And I'll get to that later in the video, right? Gamrot's doing his thing, man. And I just wanted to put down what I think they should do with him, because a lot of people are saying he should like get a top 5 matchup. I don't think so. He needs to fight down. Moving on, we have Dan Hooker, man. I put over Glazed in here because I swear I'm seeing Dan Hooker's the real dark horse of the division. Dan Hooker, it would beat Arman. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, man. And also people are acting like, yeah, Dan Hooker just wants to fight. And why isn't he like they're people? I mean, am I fighting demons? Am I schizophrenic? I swear I'm seeing people saying Dan Hooker just wants to fight anyone, and it's this person's fault. Like, this guy hasn't fought since 305. I know he was booked against Gaethje. He got injured. Okay. So I put the inactivity could be his or the UFC's fault. You know what? I think it might be Gaethje's fault, because I think that was the fight they were angling for. And now this guy's calling out like Charles in November. Way too quick of a turnaround for Charles. And you just want to fight someone coming off a KO. So, fuck you. Stop calling Charles a pussy. And yeah, I also saw a headline that was like, Dan Hooker is mad at the UFC, and it just didn't say what. Like, he just is, I guess. Moving on. Pimblett, man. Pimblett. Look. This is the thing. So I just saw Guru's video about like the lightweight division and how Arman's, you know, not fighting, and I agreed with most of it, apart from when he brings up Pimblett, and he's kind of acting like Pimblett is like the guy who'll fight anyone and all that stuff. You know, he's not. Like, he just isn't. Like, there's a reason why after beating Michael Chandler, Pimblett called out everyone and then said, like, fuck Arman, the little posh boy, you know, like, he doesn't want to fight, like, saying Arman shouldn't be able, like, doesn't deserve to fight me, right? And now he's like, yeah, I don't know what he cares about Arman. Gaethje's a legend, and Arman did technically call this guy out on Twitter, and Pimblett, I don't think he said anything back, or maybe he gave it a reason as to why, like, I don't know. I know people don't like Arman, but like, and I don't like Arman. I'm gonna get to that, right? But Pimblett clearly does not want to fight him, and I think that fight needs to happen. Because Pimblett's path to the title can't just be 36-year-olds, you know? Old ass Bobby Green, 38-year-old Michael Chandler, 36-year-old Gaethje, or maybe 37 if that fight happens, right? I know Charles got a title shot off of beating Michael Chandler, but if you look at the circumstances of the division, there wasn't anyone else who could have got the title shot, because Arman ruined an event on a day's notice, and we will get to that, right? So I think Paddy is slightly in the right. You know, he wants to fight, but it's very obvious he doesn't want to fight Arman, and that fight needs to happen, and they need to call up Paddy and go, fight Arman or you're cut, and they need to call up Arman and go, fight Paddy or you're cut. Boom, done. You know, or just say you're never getting a fucking, or you're fighting down. You know, fight this guy. If they should go to Paddy, fight Arman or fight down. You know, fight Arman or fight Ruffy if he beats BSD. You know, which I said about Gamma earlier. I put that in the slide. I said which is just an interesting matchup. I think Ruffy will beat BSD, by the way. Moving on, we have Gaethje gets a win on 1 week's notice. Was meant to fight Dan Hooker over Rafael Fiziev, and is now sitting out and threatening retirement for a title shot. Fucking do it then, mate. No one is going to miss you, Justin. You know, you retard looking fucking. I don't even know. His face pisses me off, man. I actually like Gaethje because of his fighting style, but recently it's like, how the fuck are people still like, I love Justin Gaethje, I'm such a fan of Justin Gaethje, while simultaneously hating on Yair Bedtime. No, actually, I don't think Bedtime really glazes Gaethje as much, but some people do that, and it's just like we're gonna hate on Yair for. I mean, if you guys remember UFC 314, Yair beats Pitbull. He gets on the mic. He's kind of making his case for a title shot. You know, he's going like, Hunter, can I get the shot next or something, right? Hunter's in the crowd nodding at him. You know, Hunter Campbell, the matchmaker's acting like, yeah, that's gonna happen. The UFC is rumored to make the fight. I guarantee you, the UFC told Yair, if you beat Pitbull, you can get this fight, because they wanted a Mexican in a title fight, right? So now Yair, I don't think Yair should be doing this. I think it very much pisses me off that Yair is doing this. But now, you know, Yair's trying to sit out for a title shot, but he has an excuse. The UFC told him that he was going to get a title shot. You know, I don't think anyone told Gaethje you're getting a title shot if you beat Dan Hooker, mate. Like, I mean, we haven't seen any proof of that. All we've seen is Ali Abdelaziz trying to get the fight, and of course he wants Gaethje to get a title shot. He's his manager, you know. Also, Fiziev and Pitbull. I know Fiziev is better than Pitbull, but Fiziev on 1 week's notice is not better than Pitbull. They're like the same, you know. Especially since Pitbull just beat Dan Ige, who's very underrated, you know. Regular Fiziev would be a better win than Pitbull, but on 1 week's notice, it's not. You know, especially with how competitive it was on 1 week's notice, you know. Just make the Dan Hooker fight, man. Stop fucking sitting around on your ass like, I don't even know what Gaethje does in his spare time, taking his dog on walks and shit. And you know, crying about I'm gonna retire if you don't. I'm gonna retire if I don't get a title shot. I know, I kind of get it. You know, I know you want to get to the best places in your career. There comes a time when you have to fight down. I mean, he's obviously fought down a lot, but like, you don't deserve to fucking fight for a title. And don't make this guy versus Arman, I'll say that, because then it's like, what'd you do with Pimblett? I think Pimblett does deserve a top 5 matchup. I think that makes sense. If you want to capitalise on the hype, just give him Arman. As I said, moving on to Arman. Oh, this actually pissed me off. Ilya is not ducking you, Arman. He's not. Like, this is, and I'll get to this one, because I'm going to talk about Ilya after this, right? All you do is sit on the sidelines eating food because you're fucking rich, so you can just do that. You can just sit out and cry on social media about Ilya's ducking me. I need a title shot. Ilya's ducking me. You beat Charles Oliveira by split decision over a year ago at UFC 300, and you've sat out since. What else did you do? You were booked against Islam Makhachev at UFC 311. That's great. You know, we love to see it. Pulled out on a day's notice, ruining the entire event. Dana says multiple times you're not getting a title shot, Arman. I guarantee you, the fight was never offered to Ilya. Okay. The one good thing I can say about Arman is that he did call out Pimblett on Twitter. Don't know if he actually wants to fight, because now he's just trying to sit out and complain to get a title shot. But he did call out Pimblett on Twitter. Okay. These fucking these Makhachev fans, man, and this is what I'm saying. For some reason, and there's 2 specific YouTubers who I can think of who have both posted videos calling Ilya a duck, who just ignore context. You know, they're getting the quote of Ilya saying that he won't fight Arman, he'd rather vacate his belt, and seeing it as ducking, and we'll talk about that in a second, right? Kenny Okoye, the very, very big fan of Islam Makhachev, who always just goes against fighters that are cool for some reason. I mean, not always, you know, Makhachev is cool, but Ilya's always Kenny's always hating on, I mean, he's trying to discredit Ilya, because then if Ilya somehow loses to Arman, now it's like, You think this guy would have beat Makachev, you know? And you got MMA Joey who just hates any non-Muslim fighter for some reason. Like maybe MMA Joey's Muslim, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think so. I don't think he is, but yeah. Uh these two just for some reason ignore context and call Ilya a duck, which makes absolutely zero sense, lads. And yeah, Arman doesn't deserve a title shot. Fight Pimblet. Like, that's the fight. That's the fight that makes sense. You know, Pimlet. If Pimlet wins, he gets to a title shot off of a legit win. And now Ilya's actually fighting someone good instead of a guy who's unproven because he's only beaten 36-year-olds, right? Or Arman wins, you're right back into a title shot. You know, one win, one win. That's it. Right, moving on. Ilya. Ilya genuinely hasn't done anything wrong in this situation. I'm not glazing. Okay. Ilya knows. Ilya knows the UFC is not going to give Arman Sarukian a title shot. Because Arman Sarukian doesn't deserve the title shot. You can't just sit around and do nothing and then just walk straight into a title shot. Not only does that look worse on Ilya's resume, you know, a guy who was out for a year after winning a split decision over someone who Ilya chinned in 2 minutes. I love you, Charles. I'm so sorry, man. Yeah. I think Ilya understands that. I guarantee you the UFC hasn't offered him the fight. And the whole saying you won't fight him thing, I think it's because of that. And I also think, I remember there was a time when everyone was saying Ilya was ducking Max post UFC 300. Ilya was saying that Max didn't deserve it and he wasn't going to fight him. And what happened? I love Max Holloway. I prefer him over Ilya, but what happened? You know? This guy also called out Arman on the mic after the Charles win. People overlook that because Joe Rogan, who is a retard and a little gnome, got Paddy into the cage, even though Ilya was talking about back injuries and some pussy whose back is hurting, and then Joe Rogan goes, "You're talking about Paddy Pimblett? Let's get him up here, folks. Get Paddy up here." You know? This guy wants to fight Islam Makhachev at 170, but nah, guys, he's ducking Arman. He doesn't want the smoke with Arman, man. That split decision over a year ago, that must have, where he almost got submitted multiple times, was saved by the bell in one of them, and was saved by his shorts coming down in the other submission. That sent chills through Ilya's bones. You know, I actually think Arman is one of the best lightweights on the planet, but stop fucking ducking. No, you're not. Arman isn't even. I mean, he kind of is. He's ducking contenders. He isn't ducking Ilya. He obviously wants that fight because he wants a title shot, right? But he doesn't deserve it. You can't just sit out and expect to get your title shot, you little pussy, man. I know. I can't really say this, you know. I mean, Arman would fuck me up. All these people would fuck me up. But like, you just have to call it how it is. You know, you have to call it how it is. The only people who hate on Ilya Topuria, no, actually that's not true. The people in this situation who are calling Ilya Topuria a duck are Makhachev fans. If you go on Instagram, you look who's commenting this, you look on their profile. What are all these Arabic letters doing here? Why do you have so many Khabib edits on your page? I thought you were an Arman fan. Where's the Arman edit? Oh, Arman only has 3 actual fans and they're all Armenian, and they all know him, you know. So yeah, that's my thoughts, lads. You know, like the video or MMA Joey will crawl through your walls and molest you. In a bit, lads.